So we're doing Tanya for Tuesday, November 4th. What is this? The 13th of Cheshvan. Just to summarize yesterday, it was the letter the Alter Rebbe wrote upon the passing of Menachem Mendel Horodok, who was like his senior Rebbe, and who had made Aliyah. By the way, just to know the details, by the first Hasidic Aliyah, the Alter Rebbe went with Rabbi Menachem Mendel, but they got to like one of the ports. Thank you. You don't have it's fine. It's fine. They got to one of the ports, and he said, "You should go back." He actually told them, "You should be taking me over as the regional Rebbe of White Russia." Okay, so here's the deal. And just to summarize this, when he passed away, the Rabbi Shlomo Zalman in many ways felt the obligation to, in a way, he was the successor of this one who passed away, this person, and he was also trying to console both the people in Israel, the Hasidim in Israel. They lost their local leader, the Grievers, right? And he's trying to console and motivate the Hasidim in Russia. Some say there's two versions of this letter, actually. One was written in the diaspora Hasidim that were supporting this now deceased tzaddik and his followers, and one was written, and the letter was written to them. And one was written to his Hasidim in Russia, in Israel. And the bottom line is that a tzaddik never really passes away, because what's passing away? The body, but that wasn't their primary life. That wasn't their primary. That wasn't their primary life. And because it wasn't their primary life, what was the primary life? The primary life was a portal of divinity in this world. Love and awe. And another point is that tzaddik is not just his personal, like he was this little, like almost like angel being here, but the tzaddik was basically put on earth to what we call like engineer, to re-engineer the world a little bit, to make spiritual norms that did not exist until he came to give his touch to it. Whoa. So his tzaddik is all about being a channel for divinity. And even if the body is away, but the fact of first of all, his metaphysical, his emotional, intellectual influence remains, and his impact remains. And not just remains, it constantly grows. So I do want to say one thing I learned in reading the Steinsaltz Tanya that I found really fascinating. The last line of yesterday. It's a line that is quoted a lot in Chabad because it talks about staying the course of the Rebbe. So he says at the last couple paragraphs, basically he says how that the individual, the chassid who remains in this world and stays connected through the teachings and through the emotional bond and all that, and walks in his ways. So his ruach remains truly in our midst to those that are bound into his chassidim. When the tzaddik, sees his children, meaning children, disciples, is very same thing, interchangeable, who embody the work of his hands to sanctify God's blessed name. For God's name is magnified and sanctified Here's the kicker. When we walk in a straight path, in one of his paths, the tzaddik who passed away's paths, that he has shown us, and we will walk in his ways forevermore. Mm-hmm. So how do you take that? Like, what does that poetic kind of ending of yesterday bring up for you?
It's not very mysterious. It's right there, what it says.
Right. So I learned the difference. If you zoom in, remember the Tanya is so precise in its word usage. The Tanya says we should that we connect to the tzaddik, the deceased tzaddik, when we walk in a straight path, derech yeshara, straight road is a better term, and in the path. And we walk. That he showed us, and we walk be'archaisav, in his ways. So, in very brief, there's a lot of sources he brings here, but there's a difference of a road and a path. What's the difference of a road and a path? Simply put.
One's bigger. One's
paved.
Okay.
It's really good. Really geschmack to go on a paved road. It's very smooth. It's very clear. A path. What's a path? It's a dirt road. I mean, in these terms. For walking. But it's less. It's less clear, right? And this is a very, very powerful idea when people ask about the Rebbe's, what's going to be with the next Rebbe, right? So this letter is a very big source letter about staying connected to even a deceased tzaddik who's not in this physical world. But the language is very powerful. That our job is, you can really sum up a lot of these, a lot of what we said, and many of the lines. But one of them is, our job is to walk in the clear path and in the dirt path of the Rebbe, which means the clear stuff, right? To do Torah and mitzvahs and do Chumash and Rashi and Ram. These are very clear things. It's very clear. The Rebbe didn't like mince words, right? However, the reality is, as time goes on, we're here for not just to repeat what was, but to do something new. In other words, you're going to get challenges or opportunities in your life that are not the well-trodden road, the well-paved road. They're going to be the dirt road. It's a little more left up to you to figure out. But that is still, the tzaddik gives us the influence, both in teachings and in spiritual, flow, that we can figure out even the new situations that did not exist until then.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's Tuesday, pretty short. It ends the letter, or it ends the excerpt of the letter. This is on page 92 in the Cheinum. This then, all we just said above, about the tzaddik still giving influence after his passing, is the meaning of the statement in the sacred Zohar that, quote unquote, when a tzaddik departs, he is to be found in all the worlds more than during his lifetime. Very famous quote, a tzaddik departs, passes away, he's found more in the worlds than when he was physically alive.
Whoa.
That is, not just in the spiritual worlds, even in the physical world. Hayem laseisam, as the Gemara says, this world is the world of action, the day to do stuff. In this world of action, ishtakach yatir. Even in this physical world, which you might say, look, there's a lot of nice worlds that tzaddik's soul can be in, but the physical world, you need a body. No, even in this world, that's the world of the body, the world of the physical, the tzaddik's presence and soul is still tethered to the physical world, even though his body is not operating. Because, how? doesn't this world demand an anchor, a physical anchor, a body in order for the soul to operate? How could he not have the body and still operate in the world? Because the action of his disciples continues to produce successive generations of offshoots from the light implanted for the righteous in the field which God had blessed in the Garden of Eden. This light, I guess the light that the tzaddik gave us through his actions and directions, this light radiates to the earth and to the outside places, both to the Holy Land, Israel, and outside the Holy Land. And also to us, those who we are here this day, all of us who live in his ways. The holy way shall it be called. Continuing on, the above bombshell idea that the tzaddik is increased presence in the physical world after his passing. This, of course, relates to the service of God to heavenly spiritual matters, right? In other words, what's a primary function of a Rebbe and a Chassid? The primary is a teacher, no, a teacher and a student. It's teaching you to be a better servant of Hashem. So, and that's a lifelong journey. And the Rebbe still, the tzaddik still, how you pronounce it, posthumously? Posthumously?
On the first syllable.
Posthumously. Okay. Posthumously, the tzaddik is still giving boost to your soul to grow in your being a servant of Hashem. As for mundane matters, meaning another function of a tzaddik, of a rebbe, was to be one to give blessings and to help the pipeline of material blessings for the chassid. It's stated that's for sure going on because it's said explicitly in the sacred Zohar that the tzaddikim shield the world, and after their death, even more so than during their life. This is already in the Zohar that a tzaddik in his passing shields the world from bad decrees as much as possible.
Whoa.
Moreover, were it not for the prayers of the tzaddikim in the other world, this world would not endure for a single moment. And whoever is close to the habitation of God, through being close to the tzaddik during his lifetime, has presence to the blessing that comes to the tzaddik. Because we said earlier, and just kind of reiterating it, that the channel to receive anything, right? There has to be a recipient and a giver. And when the recipient wants, the giver can give more. The recipient, the more of a relationship between the recipient and the giver, there's a more frictionless flow, right? You can think of anything in life that, a student and a teacher, when the student is really eager, the teacher will give more and more ideas to the student, and so on. So, too, the chassid, those that had a special connection in the lifetime of the tzaddik, they have extra precedence because they feel that sort of like that bond, and the bond makes a stronger flow of beneficence. And I just want to point out that although that ends the Chumash for today, in the Steinsalz, where they have more expanded stuff, they point out that there's really a continuation of the letter. And I'm not going to read the whole letter, but just to understand that what it talks about, this is like it cuts off in the middle of the letter because the rest of the letter was more particulars that was appropriate for that time. What was the
Particulars?
The particulars? Alter Rebbe made an appeal to the Hasidim outside Israel. He's writing this letter to the Hasidim outside Israel that fundraising, that till now you sent money to support the Hasidim, or particularly the Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Haraduk, who had just passed away. You sent your bread money, a part of your bread money, to go support them. So now he passed away. They might think, okay, it's not as much of a priority now, right? Okay, even though there's other people there, but it was primarily about the Rebbe, and to convince someone, the poor Hasidim of Russia, to give their bread money to support the faraway Jews of the faraway, Rebbe and Hasidim of the land of Israel, there has to have good reason. And the good reason is, okay, you give money to a tzaddik, he prays for you, you get more blessings. So it's kind of like, an investment in a way, or you're going to get back. So that's this whole preamble in a way, which is the main lesson we walk away with. It had very practical ramifications to the Hasidim that the Alter Rebbe was writing to in Russia, saying, even though he passed, nothing changes. On the contrary, you give to his charitable funds to support his the colony, whoever lived there, that you're going to get whatever you got from him spiritually and materially in his lifetime. You're going to get more so after if you keep on giving, even though it's a hard ask. Anyway, it's very, very powerful. So much meaning for us today in our relationship with the Rebbe who passed on. And, we see this idea, this is quoted so much, the Rebbe quoted in regards to his father-in-law, that just as a phenomenon, right? When the Rebbe was alive, the whole Chabad and, a lot of the Jewish world was very, the Rebbe was the center of the Chabad. Everything was just like the arms and extensions of the Rebbe's persona and teaching ability and blessing ability. The Rebbe passed away. How could Chabad go on? Logically, it didn't make sense. It was so leader-centric. And no one knew. In Chabad themselves, they didn't know how this was going to work. And there was a lot of trial and error. But regardless, even when there was a lot of trial and error, a lot of challenges in that 94, 95 post passing time, look at the influence the Rebbe has today. Look at just the Chabad house explosion. And today, not just that there's Chabad houses, like, it's in general, Chabad is always an unlikely success story because it's not like it's centrally funded from a Swiss bank account. It's not like it's, it's very decentralized in many ways. And it depends on a lot of the goodwill of the people that are running it or the communities that support it. How's it going to work? And somehow it works. I mean, wow. It's a work in progress, but it works pretty good.
Wow.
And even more so, look at the Rebbe's influence today. How in Israel, they quote the Rebbe and this decision and that decision, how politicians go to visit the Rebbe's grave.
Wow.
It's like it's a very we take it for granted, but there's something otherworldly about this phenomenon, which makes sense from what we said, that the Rebbe otherworldly, kind of that otherworldly, that spiritual presence, the Rebbe, which some people say that's otherworldly. No, it's very this worldly, and it's having effect in this worldly. So what do we do now? As Rabbi Stein does, we Jews, who are we? What do we do now? We have to do more of it. We have to do more of that kind of being the foot soldiers of the Rebbe's ethos, the Rebbe's plans, the Rebbe's agenda for making the world a better place, the Jewish world a better place, the greater world a better place. And I like that line of that there's certain things that are paved roads, there's certain things that are dirt paths. The Rebbe gave us some paved roads and he left some dirt paths.